Hello again, everybody. This is Steve coming to you with another Writing Musings. This is number 6. Got some interesting stuff for you this time. I've only got 3 bullet points, but bullet point to number 2 is fairly voluminous, so I don't need anything more than that. May not get all the way through this one because I've got a 30-minute limit on it, but anyways, starting this out, I wanted to show you an interesting little meme, that writing meme that I came across that I thought you would find kind of neat. This is things that native English speakers know but don't know we know. And this is actually quite true. This is something that you're taught in English class, but you're kind of not taught in English class. At least not this specific part. This comes from putting multiple different things together that they teach you about, English structure or sentence structure, different things like that. And I'll let you pause the video and read this. I thought it was kind of neat. So I wanted to share this with you so you could see this. Second item, publishing. I'm hoping to do a video with my friend Don Samora again, because he was my publisher for a while, or at least owned the business that was my publisher. And he really knows publishing. So I think a video with him will be kind of fun because he can touch on things that I don't know. Because I lean on him for some things that I don't know and understand about publishing, and then there's things he leans on me for that are kind of more on the technical side. So we help each other out. But anyways, with publishing, there are 4 basic types of publishing. You've got self-publishing, pay-to-play, which is anybody that you go to you pay them to publish the book. It's called pay-to-play. Traditional, this is like Random House and trying to think of some of the other big publishers, but they're the big publishing houses that everybody knows about. That they do all the big names like Orson Scott Card and Tom Clancy and Clive Cussler and all that. They're the guys that everybody originally went to. And then there's the good old agents. And I order that in kind of the order of which one's best, and kind of what order you should go in if you want to kind of work your way up the tree. Starting on a point A, self-publishing. If you're new to writing, start there. Especially in today's world. In the past, you didn't have to. Self-publishing was kind of the place that people who couldn't get published went to. It was kind of the sad clown show, if you will. That if you couldn't get published any other way, you went self-publishing. Nowadays, that has changed. That's flipped on its head. It's not that's the place where failed authors go. That's the place where everybody goes to start. You don't get, because originally the traditional publishers were the gatekeepers for the good books. That's fallen by the wayside. There are people I know who are very well-known, highly published authors, very successful authors, who are self-published. They went to self-publishing and never went any further. And they went huge. I know bands who did that. They never got signed with a record label. They did their own thing, and they're huge. They make a ton of money. They do a ton of shows. They're super popular. Everybody loves them. So this is a whole different world, and part of the reason behind that is in the past, when you had traditional publishers, you didn't have the information framework that we have now that allows you to get noticed, get scouted in a sense. You can get out there and you can introduce yourself, you can introduce your book, and if it's good, it's got a good cover, you've done your editing, all that other stuff, your book will take off and it will go big. Now, that's not everybody. I know I've seen great books. I've picked up some self-published books that nobody wants to read. I've picked them up and started reading them and thought they were amazing, but the person who published them has no social skills. Therefore, they don't go out and they don't market. Or if they market, they're kind of that awkward, creepy kind of person, so the marketing kind of backfires. And I can relate to that. I'm in that same boat. I can market, but I have a hard time marketing because I'm very introverted, even though I don't sound like it. Part of the reason I can talk as comfortably with you as I can is I'm sitting behind a screen with you on the other side. So it's like having a brick wall between the two of us, and I can talk comfortably all day long to you on the other side because there's that wall of separation. You get me in person, and I'm going to be So, a little social anxiety. You put me up on stage, and I might be good for the first 5 or 10 minutes, but then I'm just going to start turning into a sniveling, blubbering mess. So, anyways, with self-publishing, You have to do everything for the books yourself. I actually recommend with self-publishing, you start out with ebooks only. And that sounds a little weird because ebooks are probably 20% of the market. So you're only dealing with 1/5 of the people out there. And it's a very prolific market, so it's a hard one to succeed in, but it's a good way to learn. I mean, it's kind of like military or like Navy SEAL training. It's super, super hard, but those who manage to get to the top get to wear the I don't know if it's a dolphin or what it is, but it's a little SEAL badge that they have. You know, and self-publishing is kind of the same way. When you go in, you write your book. I have covers first and then editing, and that's actually backwards. It should be editing first. First of all, you want to edit your book yourself. You want to edit it and get good at it. You know, don't just write it and hand it to an editor, because you don't learn that way. You want to write your book, edit it, clean it up as best you can, run it past. Here, I'll do this. I'll correct that order, because that's really what it should be. Editing, and then I'll do review groups, or peer groups. But yeah, you wanna write your book, you want to edit it, you want to get it as good as you can get it. Then run it past peer groups. Find out what's good, what's not, learn, go back and edit it some more. Peer group, edit, until you get it to where everybody's happy with it, or as happy as they're going to get. Some people will never be happy with your book. They'll be actually kind of jealous of your book at some point, which I think if they start getting jealous of your book, you're doing something right. Just my opinion. You know, at that point in time, once you've done the peer groups and you've done the editing and you've got it to where you feel comfortable with it, and the peer group feels comfortable with it, run it past an editor. And don't just have one that goes in there and cleans up the grammar and spelling and stuff. Have one that takes the actual story apart. They're in there and they're like, well, you've got a plot hole here. In this, you know, in chapter 3, this person loves cherry ice cream, but in chapter 6, they love strawberry ice cream and can't stand cherries. So plot hole, you know, little things like that. And I'm just kind of being facetious on that, but that's an example of what would happen. It's what I mentioned in other videos about story drift. You can have story drift, character drift, stuff like that. I've done that numerous times. And those are the kind of editors. Those kind of editors are the ones that will find those things. Because, like I said, you want the ones that will do grammar and spelling, and then check with your editor once they've finished the grammar and spelling, and see if they do. I think it's called continuity. If they're not a continuity editor, go find a continuity editor. Somebody, if you can't afford an editor, go and see if a English student, somebody in college, would be willing to edit it for you, because they're learning English anyways, because they're going to be like an English teacher, English prof, something like that. That's going to be their major is English. You know, they might still charge you a few bucks, but that's fine. You know, see if they're willing to do it as a project, especially if they have like a community service component to their education where they have to go out and help people with English stuff, as kind of like an internship or a community service or something like that. You can find that out. Go to the colleges, ask the professors and stuff, because they'll know. You know, or if you happen to have a family member who's in college who's doing an English major or something, ask them to edit it for you. And don't just, okay, thank you for the editing, and walk away. Look at what they changed. Look at what they did, and see what they did, and learn from that. So this is the part of the self-publishing side of things, is learning. You know, you don't want somebody to go in and do everything for you. You want to take these opportunities, find the mistakes, learn. Once you're comfortable with that, editor signs off on it, peer group signs off on it, get a cover. Now, I will state this unequivocally up front. Don't cheap out on your covers. Do not cheap out on your covers. A lot of people I've seen, they want the $20 cover, and they end up with this cover that's complete crap. It's done off a template. It's some of these quote-unquote low-cost cover designers aren't cover designers. They go out, they find a template, they throw a few things on it, boom, there's your cover. And you're no different than, there's 5 other people out there with the same background on their cover, just different title. And you're going to get into legal trouble with that. A good book cover is going to cost you Low end about 150, high end about 350. You want to shoot for about 250. Now, just because somebody's offering 250 on their book covers does not mean that they're going to be a good quality cover artist. What you need to do is you need to ask around. You need to talk to other authors. Actually, go find the authors who have covers that you love. Find out who did their covers. Research. That one's something that the first time you do it, first couple times you do it, you're not going to necessarily find the person and the cover design and stuff that you need right away. You need to research this stuff to the nth degree, because even if you're self-publishing and you're giving it away for free, you still have legal issues you have to deal with. That's one of the big things that I hate about publishing, is all of the legal crazy nonsense stuff that goes on out there. There's trademarks, there's copyrights, there's publishing rights, there's rights here, there's rights there. It's a legal morass. I mean, the lawyers love it to death because there's so many laws and rules and things that are involved in this. So, when you're working on getting your cover for your book, CYOA, do all your homework to make sure that you don't get sued later on by somebody because your cover author or artist wasn't an actual artist. They were just some dude who slaps a bunch of stuff on a page and calls it original. Because there's a lot of guys out there that don't do that, that don't do original artwork. They do stock art, and you can get into a lot of legal trouble with that if you don't do your due diligence when you're getting your cover made. And like I say, don't go cheap, because the cheap ones are going to be the ones that are going to get you in legal trouble. Now, the expensive ones can too, but they're less likely to because they've got more skin in the game, so to speak. Anyways, layout. That's only applicable if you're doing a print. Layout, unless you learn how to do it yourself, and it's not something that's you can learn right away, and it's something that takes practice and experience and training and stuff to do. So you may have to go to one of these pay-to-play companies and say, hey, can you do a layout for me? There's some printing companies that they print books and publications and things like that. They have a department that does layouts, and you can pay them to lay it out, and you can pay them to print. If you only have them do the layout, you can go to somebody else like Amazon, Barnes & Noble, someone else like that, who does print on demand or pod. And you have to bring them the layout, and it has to fit with whatever formats that they actually publish or print. So you have to make sure that you know what size that they print, and you can match your layout to that. And then you get them to print. Now, distribution is an interesting one, because I can't speak a lot on distribution because I was never really involved with that side of things. But that's one that you're going to have to look around for. I'm looking to have Smashwords along with Drafted Digital, because they're merging. They're still merging, like 2.5 years later. Their whole 9-month merger thing turned into a 2.5-year fiasco. But anyways, I'm letting them handle distribution. I figure for the self-published author, when it comes to distribution, find somebody who does it and does it well and does it widely, does it to as many of the major book publishers and booksellers as you can get, and then let them handle it. Don't worry about doing it yourself. That is a freaking nightmare, which is why every author I've ever talked to, they just find somebody who does all the distribution for them, and they just hand them the book and say, go for it, because it is such an absolute freaking nightmare. And then marketing. Marketing, you're going to have to figure out yourself. I did a different video on marketing. I explained a lot of what goes into that. But you're going to have to sign up for your own shows, pay the admission fee, schedule hotel and travel and all that. And it's going to depend on what your book is, to how your marketing works, what you do for shows and ads and where you advertise and so forth like that. But that's something that you're going to have to do a lot of work and research on too, to get the right combination of advertising for yourself. And understand that is going to cost you money. And depending on how big you get into it, it could cost you a lot of money. If you just want to do like social media, the free stuff, that's fine. But understand that's free stuff, so your mileage may vary. You may get really popular, you may get a lot of stuff, and you may not. You may get absolute crickets out of some of your marketing. I've had that, where I go into a place and there's just tons and tons of people, and you start advertising, and all you get is crickets. And then I've gone to another place where there's hardly anybody there, and I've advertised and just gotten a huge response. So it, and like I say, your mileage may vary. It depends on you. It depends on the book. It depends on the market, what people want, etc., like that. And again, I explain that in a different video, so I don't want to go too much deeper on that. Pay to play. These are essentially traditional publishers, but you pay the upfront cost for all of the publishing and everything else. This one, I don't recommend this, honestly. It's an okay one if you don't intend to have a large audience. Pay-to-plays are great if you're doing like a community book, like a pamphlet, or a well, not a pamphlet. Pamphlets, you just go to a regular printer for that. But if you're doing like a small charity book, like one I participated in, it was an anthology of short stories. They printed 2,000 copies and sold it to raise money for a charity organization in the area. When the 2,000 copies were done, the book, they walked away from the book. They didn't print anything more. They didn't do anything else with it. For something like that, that pay-to-play is perfect. It tends to be a little expensive, about $2,000 to $5,000, upwards to $20,000, depending on who it is and what you're doing. But they're a good one if it's going to be like a small run, single use, or one-time book. Those are great for that. They're, like I say, they're just like a traditional publisher, but they're smaller. They have a smaller distribution, a smaller footprint, and you pay up front. Traditional, a lot of you know that one. That's one where you go to the publisher's website. There's a book out there, and I'm trying to remember what it is. I had a copy of it. It comes out every year. You can look it up. I don't use it because I don't ever intend to go traditional. But I looked it up. I got a book got a copy of it and looked it up. And what it is it, and I'll describe it. Like I said, I can't remember the name of it, but it tells you every major and minor publishing company out there, their submission requirements, what they expect. Is it double spaced? Is it not double spaced? It's well, I can't. My brain's not working right now. I apologize. It's where you have a line and then a space, and then a line and a space. That might be called double spacing. I don't remember, but that'll be one of the requirements, or it has to be a certain font, like it can't be Comic Sans. It has to be Times New Roman, and they'll have all of these requirements that you need to have in order to submit your manuscript. And you submit your manuscript to them. They review it. If they like it, they push it up the line and have somebody else look at it. If they like it, they push it up the line. And, as it goes up the line, it's going through this thinning down process until they have just a handful of the submissions left. Because you have the guys on the ground, the base editors, they're looking for the stuff that's going. The funny thing is when they're sent these submissions, they're sent so many submissions. They're actually trained that when that comes in, they're looking for any reason to throw this thing in the trash and reject it. They literally want to reject your manuscript. And if they can't find a reason to reject it, they pass it up the line for a second review, and then they pass it up the and then they do the same thing and pass it up the line for final review, and then the person at that level goes through the books that are the remaining manuscripts, because like I said, there's like tens of thousands of these things that come into these guys. It's like every year or every month, something like that. It's a ridiculously high number. The poor guys on the bottom, the first tier editors, I mean, it's amazing these guys aren't on like antidepressants or something. Just the amount of work they have to go through, just the piles and piles and piles of stuff that come in. So anyways, those guys, they'll filter it out and then eventually get up there. And if they really, really, really like your book and it gets through the third tier, they'll contact you and say, hey, we're going to publish you. And at that point, they take over everything. They take over the editing, the review, the covers, layout, everything. They do the whole 9 yards. All you do is you sign off on stuff and you sign paperwork and other stuff like that, and they do the rest. The downside is by doing that, you're going to lose some rights. You're going to gain some benefits, but you're going to lose some rights. If you are not an established author, if you're not somebody that's a known bestseller, you can kiss any of your creative control goodbye. Now, if you're an established author, there's a, you can get in there, and that, like, especially if you're on your third or fourth book with them and your books have really been selling well, you come in and they say, well, we want you to take this tree and turn it from green to red. You say no. They go, okay. And, they won't do that on everything, but they will accept some pushback from you. If you're first time and they just accepted you, they're going to tell you, no, you turn this tree red or we're throwing your book out. You have zero creative control. None. You still retain some rights, but majority of your rights are gone as soon as you're up there in a traditional publisher. You're also going to have very limited royalties. I know one guy I talked to who was was at one of the book fairs. He didn't go up the self-publishing side like I did, and he went straight to traditional, and he had a book that was like $8.97, I think it was. I think that was the cover price for his particular book. He got 35 cents of that $8.97. 35 cents. Or was it 35? Yeah, he got 35 cents, and the guy next to him only got 17 cents per copy. The publisher got the rest. So you're going to have very limited royalties. Yeah, they take care of everything, but you're going to pay for that too. You're going to lose a lot in royalties. It's kind of like being pay to play, where a large portion of your royalties go to pay off what you put in to do the pay to play, but you got a bigger audience. So there's trade-offs. Now the biggest one of them all, is agents. Literally, you hand it to an agent, and the agent does everything. They go even more than the traditionals, because they've got an in with the publishers that people who go through the outside in through normal traditional publishing don't have. Because the publishers know that if an agent comes to them with a manuscript, they've already gone over that manuscript with a fine-tooth comb, and they know that this is going to be a winner. Now, they won't accept every book from every agent. They can't. They don't have the volume. They don't have the volume, the capacity, or the bandwidth. When I say bandwidth, I'm talking about ability, not internet bandwidth. I'm talking about the ability to produce these books, because traditional publishers only can produce so many books per month. They just don't have enough capacity to go any more than that. So they're going to be weeding through even the stuff from the agents. And the agents, therefore, when they bring a book to the publishers, they want to bring the number one premier class books. Everybody else is, they're kind of a gatekeeper for the publishers. When you go directly to the publisher, they have to be their own gatekeeper. But when it comes to the agents are the gatekeepers for the publishers. So by the time the publisher gets it, they're getting the A plus grade books, A grade, A plus grade. Now that doesn't mean they're not going to get some stinkers. I've seen some stuff come through agents and go to the traditional publishers, that the traditional publishers accept, and those books suck. Nobody buys them. They're horrible. How they got through the filtering process, I don't know. But there are going to be some rotten eggs that get through. That's just true in anything. But yeah, with agents, they're kind of like, if you could get into an agent, you can get an agent, and an agent will take your book. You have succeeded where a lot of people have not. Because it is really, really hard to get into an agent, even more than a traditional publisher. But again, that's the cream of the crop there. That's the, caviar dreams of champagne wishes and caviar dreams. That's what I'm thinking of when it comes to publishing. You don't get any higher than an agent. Anyways, that's the publishing side of things. I'll leave it at that. I've got 6 minutes, so I'll cover this last one. If you get into nonfiction writing, you're not doing fantasy, you're not doing sci-fi or anything like that, that's a different animal. It's got some of the same rules as regular fiction publishing, but with nonfiction writing, this is one where you have, you're writing about things in real life. You're writing a doctor's manual, you're writing a pocket guide, you're writing any number of things like that. You have to have not just good grammar, spelling, punctuation, narration, all that kind of stuff. Your facts have to be spot on the money. I mean, you have to dot your I's, cross your T's, and, say your bedtime prayers. I mean, you have to be Johnny on the dot with everything you write about. Because if you're wrong, in some cases you can be sued for being wrong in your books. And I'm not doing that to scare you away. I'm doing that to make you realize that, this is not something you can just, piddle around with. You can't just, how do I say this? You can't be kind of, there's one I'd like to say, but I don't want to say it for the sake of kids. But you don't want to be half donkeyed if you get my suggestion on that. Anyways, yeah, you have to really be spot on. Like when I did my 3 pocket guides for church, it was manna and what was the second one? It was manna, love God's greatest gift, and I can't think of it. Give me just a second. I'll look it up on my site. You figure I'd remember these since I wrote them, but brain's not working right now. Yeah, what does it mean to be a Christian? Manna and love God's greatest gift. When I wrote those, I wrote those for my local church. A couple of just a bunch of pocket guides for ministry. I've still got one more I'm going to write. It's on tithing and giving, but that's kind of on hold right now, along with everything else. But of course, if you've seen the world right now, you'd understand why a lot of this is on hold. I mean, the economy's falling apart, the world's at war. It's like, yeah, probably not a good time to be publishing. But anyways, I wrote those 3 books for my church, and I went through, and the amount of research I had to do on those was just phenomenal. Just, I had to have Bible verses in order, I had to have theology in order, and everything like that. And I even had to run it past one of my pastors, and he critiqued it for me. And because I figured, pastor's going to be the subject specialist. Or subject expert, I should say. So I ran it past him just to make sure. I think I ran it through 3 different pastors for those books, just to make sure I had everything right. And if you're say you're doing a book on how to fix a Ford engine, you want to go to somebody, and you're not you're not a professional mechanic. You want to go to somebody who's a licensed professional mechanic, somebody who does this for a living every single day. They've got all the licenses, they've got all the knowledge. They're the unless you are that, and then that's a different story. I mean, if you're a subject expert, that's fine. You don't need, well, you still need somebody to go in, look at your stuff, and make sure you got it. Because even if you are the subject expert, you're going to miss things. You're going to miss things. You're going to get facts wrong. You're going to screw something up. That's just human nature. So run it past fellow experts. If they tear it apart, go in, figure out what you did wrong. If it's just them being jealous of you, yeah, screw them. But if they're pointing out legit things that you did wrong, go back in, find out why you did them wrong, how you did them wrong, and fix it. But like I say, make sure all your I's are dotted, your T's are crossed, and all your, everything is in perfect order, because those are a whole different level of writing, and you have to have, you don't have the ability of, I made a plot hole because I called this wizard this in one chapter and something else in another chapter. You don't have that in nonfiction writing. In nonfiction writing, everything has to be dot on the money. It can't be wrong at any point. So you're going to be doing a lot of heavy research while you're writing those. I mean, my books were like 2,000, 3,000 words. Okay, well, let's see. Christian was 10,270. Manna was 21,280. So novelette size, essentially. And yeah, Love was 21,400. So yeah, the what does it mean to be a Christian was the smallest. The other 2 were novelette sized. But yeah, that's a lot of research and things like that. So anyways, yeah, be extra careful with those. I'm not trying to discourage you from writing them. I'm just saying you need to put an extra level of diligence into those over what you would if you were doing sci-fi and fiction. So, and I'm just letting you know so you have that in the back of your mind when you start writing them, or if you already are right now. So anyways, I'm out of time for this episode, so I will catch you in the next one. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, etc. like that, please let me know. I'm always up for any of your feedback, and I really, really appreciate it. So thanks, guys.